Welcome to Half-Ass Nerds, playground built on imagination and bullshit. Here just for your sweet, sweet entertainment. Be entertained.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Half-Ass Nerds. This is Joshua.
And it's Jonathan.
And with us today is Citizen Tiger.
How you guys doing today?
Good, real good.
How are you?
Sore as usual, but that comes with the territory.
Yeah, being a superhero and all.
Above average is the way I like to put it.
Above average hero is
Yes. Well, we all can't have superpowers, but we can apply ourselves in astounding ways, I like to think.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I really think what you do is awesome because you do a lot of different things, like we talked about a little bit before the podcast, cleaning up the river and.
Where do I start?
Yeah, right.
Okay, this will be a little bit of a list. I'm a bit of an overachiever. Big believer in what's called the helper's high, and that's a way of achieving a chemical balance in the brain that helps with depression and mood and goal setting. So I throw myself at this. I do a lot of river cleanups, I think 23 to date. A lot of homeless outreach, sometimes at great distances. There's a lot of planning involved with that. I do a lot of street and what I like to call safety patrols. I go on what I call my night runs and see what I come across. I'm always looking for people getting into cars. You know how Huntington is.
Yeah, I do.
Then I try to get involved with organizations and do other things like playground builds and basically anything I can sink my teeth into. There's quite a bit out there that needs to be done. We have a great volunteer coordinator and department, and that's often a good way to find things to do. There's the soup kitchen, of course, the food ministry here in town. They're always needing volunteers. We were just there this weekend. It's really good for my kids.
Yeah.
Some of it. Not all of it.
Right. Helping out at the soup kitchen sounds like a good one.
It is.
And how did you get started?
Yeah, origin story, man. We need it.
Origin. Well, you got to understand, when I got out of the Army, I had a tree landing and I was a little hard up. They told me I'd never walk again. Forgive, I know the name is half-ass, but I don't half-ass anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
As Ron Swanson says, that whole ass, everything. But we were going on a walk with my daughter when she was very little, still toddling. My wife was pushing me in a wheelchair. I had a cane, but I wasn't able to stand for more than 5 minutes at a time. And she found a needle down at Yeoman Park, which is not far.
Right.
And it's a good walk, but it's not far from where we live. So that kind of, got the Papa Bear up in me. And with her being so young and being in such a, fragile place, I kind of tried to figure out a way to keep up with her. And I wanted to do something about that. I'm an Eagle Scout and combat veteran, and here I was helpless in my own backyard, just a needle on the side of the road right by the park where a lot of kids play. So I figured out that when I had my tree landing, my big toe touched my shin and my Achilles tendon permanently stretched out. It didn't snap. Oof. So one day I had an epiphany that if I built up my calf, that it would pull the tension back up and it would slowly improve my gait. So 9 years ago now, I started that journey. And in that journey, I have found a lot more potential than what I realized I had, even when I was in the service. Wearing a red beret in the 82nd, you're kind of on a certain higher level than a lot of the rest of the military. And there's a lot of discipline that comes with that. I just haven't let up since. I try and take that with humility and apply that in a form of penance. That's basically it. The name came from my kids when they were little. She had a thing for tigers and zoo animals, but specifically tigers. Mm-hmm. Her brothers, as they came into the world, they grew into it. And I couldn't keep this a secret from them. So I made them part of the process. No, they don't have little identities and stuff like that. I'm always trying to keep their safety in mind. Don't go calling CPS on me now. But they named me. I was going to go with something very, Marvel 50s street level, the Phantom kind of,
Sure.
But, it stuck. And as I started to learn a lot about what we often refer to as the community, the real life superhero community, or RLSH, it's just been pedal to the metal from there.
Yeah.
I draw a lot of my inspiration from them and their stories and what they've been through. I've learned a lot from them. And I try to be a mentor to some degrees of where I can be. And that's basically it. I really hit my stride once I became a part of the XJL and the Extreme Justice League when, I don't know if anyone's seen the documentary Superheroes, but when...
I have seen it.
When the first guy in the whole flick video messages you and says that you have what it takes, would you join up? And there's a lot of... it's grown a lot since then. Mm-hmm. I think we're over 70 members.
Wow, that's a lot.
All over the country. We're debating going international. That's a whole other red tape nightmare. A lot of people not realize that they're a non-for-profit and are run as such. So there's a lot of multi-talented people out there doing stuff. And then you have some really great teams all over the place that I buddy up with. It's a huge movement.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Right under the radar.
What, the movement?
A lot of these people, we have a hope event. It started with some of the older guys. It started because they all wanted to go to Gen Con and do something great. So I think that's why it's under the radar. Everyone's already dressed up. But that's a good one. I know the chapter that I'm in charge of, the XJL Heartland, which encompasses Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois. We have Animal, Patrioteer, Phoenix, Miss Caduceus, and Reverb. And myself. So we have 6 members that are within a very large radius. But we gather materials all year to go underneath Chicago. There's 3 levels underneath there. It's very much the Underdark. It's not very safe.
Yeah.
That's why we split up into teams. Last year was 2 years ago. We didn't have last year because of COVID, but because of the vaccine push, I actually get mine this afternoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm excited because everybody's kind of, pumping the brakes on what they do for safety and not wanting to spread. But we think the majority of everybody will be back in the game and will be able to help. I think last year we had a U-Haul truck full of supplies, and we had somebody using a pace counter. The team that I was in that went the deepest, basically what we called the pipe hitters. Most of the XJL members, which was also awesome because having XJL members from all over the country in one spot was pretty cool. We went 13 miles.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I often have my old Army rucksack with me in a lot of my pictures. On my Facebook page, you'll see it. That's Alice. It's an Alice pack. Bad pun, I know. But it's so I can carry so many supplies long distances and we can do more good that way and be more efficient with our movements. We do have many veterans in the community as well. The Knight out of California, he's a Marine. We've got Blue Falcon in Georgia. He's Army. Got about another dozen.
Yeah.
But we're all over the place.
It's really cool. Does it help them out, in a sense, you guys are veterans and everything?
There's an interesting section. I mentioned Eagle Scout before because it's multi-talented. But if you're an Eagle Scout, you actually get a free promotion in the military because a lot of those skills. So when you think of a veteran, also think Eagle Scout because we're kind of cross-trained on a lot, not everything, but a lot of things.
Sure.
From civic duty to knot tying and land navigation and all that fun stuff. Not necessarily cooking. The cooks aren't that best. Army's got to work on that.
Specifically the Army too? Is it just that's just how that works?
The Air Force has these golden 4-star chow halls. I stay in hotels, so I don't know.
A little bit spoiled there. They don't even worry about it.
I was always in forward positions. That was the job of the 82nd, to be anywhere in the world within 48 hours to deal with it. So you tend to get something in a brown sack, maybe with some M&Ms if you're lucky.
Right. And M&M's starting to sound really good, in this situation. But what were you going to say, John?
I was just going to go into your training.
Well, let's see. I started very young. I was a lifeguard. Water's a big part of my life. I've had several water rescues in my time, and things from CPR to the Heimlich. I've had to do the Heimlich twice. I haven't had to do any Narcan or anything like that. Though in my first aid kit, I do have many little tricks. And then from there, I went on to the Scouts from Tiger Cub. Ironically, my brother brings that up quite frequently because he figured it out once he looked at my friends list and was like, "What's up with all these people in mess?" I was like, all right. And ironically, he's navigated me to a few things in Michigan that I go help with, or people that are doing things, and we try and help augment their. There's a little girl in Battle Creek. And this is the second year where basically we gather so many supplies all year that I'm looking to, we would be poor caretakers if we just sat on things. So I just coordinate with the gang. And if somebody's heading that way, we gather up, I think we gave her 1,000 pairs of socks this year. And she takes that and puts it in her care packs to get out to people in the Battle Creek, Detroit, Flint, Lansing area, which is kind of our purview. So if it doesn't have to be our hands doing it, if we can help another organization. I've gotten some of the stuff that I'm caretaker of to some of the area stuff in Fort Wayne here locally. I'll often take a few packs of Bombas socks. They donate every year. I'm sorry, I'm sidetracking.
Yeah, we go on tangents all the time.
Hashtag Bombas. They've been really good to us. There's the Scouts. And then, my father had this thing of he would rather be rich in food and experiences than in monetary things. Mm-hmm. He's the biggest reason I'm a nerd. He got me into Star Wars, Star Trek, which of course led into comic books. Yeah. I was growing up in Flint is not a good experience. I'll just say I got bullied a lot, and what ended up happening was I got tired of being bullied, so I started in wrestling in middle school. And about halfway through my first year, a friend of mine also got me hooked on Aikido, which actually, in my opinion, really helps out wrestling because you really learn how to manipulate wrists and joints and things like that. And I think that's why I did so well at it. But I did wrestling and Aikido all through middle and high school. When I got into the Army, I took up boxing for 4 years. That's a big part of, they have a big celebration every year called the Fort Bragg birthday. And before the invention of MMA, boxing was number one.
Right.
But now MMA is number one. I've taken a lot of the stuff I do in my own training, and I'm actually coaching strength training to MMA fighters. And I'm debating getting back in the ring now, actually. Especially if I could do a little bit probably to cover my medical bills. Yeah. But also to do, maybe some fundraising, I keep thinking of Thunder Lips versus Rocky. Good old Hulk. Growing up in that way where I was bullied a lot, I eventually fended off my own bullies. They kept coming, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I don't like bullies, so I would often stand up for people and take on their bullies. And they became some of the best friends of my life, still are. Basically, they helped me with my math by teaching me Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons.
That's nice.
And,
Yeah, being a person who was bullied growing up, it would have been nice to have you in my corner.
And we need more people like that,
To not just sit idly by, like this.
Well, when you get bullied a lot and then you've learned to stand up for yourself, it's kind of hard not to stand up for others. I think that's what led to me going into the military.
Just born to protect, huh?
A little bit. Well, and when you get down or handicapped or whatever, and you witness some of the stuff you have in your area, sometimes you got to stand up. This was kind of my solution to the local not having a neighborhood watch. And it's been brought up many times. There's been domestic violences that I've stopped that could have escalated a lot more before the police got there. They're busy. They're good people, despite reputations. Our local police are outstanding. I like to gut check them a lot. I think they need more than one PT test a year.
Yeah.
Or I should say one PT test ever. I think they need to have one a year. That's just me. Let's see. Other trainings I have, just a lot of first aid. I think a lot of new parents need to learn CPR for infants. A lot of people don't get that training or know what to do. Those first minutes after the initial 911 call lead to save lives. If you stammer and panic and don't know what to do, then someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
I even CPR'd a dog once.
Nice.
He got his head stuck in a Dorito bag.
Oh, no.
He's suffocated, so CPR'd the little guy.
He came back. He's good.
Yes. He is. So, I like to have a lot, you get a lot of the things I've mentioned. There's a ton, there's first aid in the Scouts, and then there's a lot of first aid in lifeguarding and in the military. A lot of times I look for new trainings and it's harder to get into, like the, what is it called? There's basically a rescue team that's a volunteer basis here locally. I've actually asked a few times to get into, but it never seems to go anywhere. So
yeah,
I don't know if I know the right people or not.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm interested. I can leave the mask at home, I promise.
Or at least in the bag, It's okay.
But there's tons of things people can learn to basically do what I do. And if you are semi-consistent with some kind of physical training, that alone makes you better at not only self-defense, but a lot of aspects. I think a lot of people are falling apart in their jobs because they just do their job and then don't do anything else.
Right.
It's kind of like maintenance and warming up the machine to get ready. You don't have to train 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day like I do, but
I was going to ask, is that what you do? Like, what time do you even get up, man?
I get up at 4:30 every morning.
Yeah.
So that I can, when you tie in many different aspects of your life into one thing, and that being training, like my job is very physically oriented, so I want to make sure I don't get hurt. Being around for my kids, that's part of it. When you tie in a why or many whys into one thing, you tend to take that on seriously. When you become good at it and you start realizing your potential, because it's always hard the first year. I see a lot of people coming in and out of gyms and on and off the mat for a year or less, and then I never see them again.
Right. That's kind of where I fall. Don't quite make it past the year.
It's the consistency.
Yeah. It's what I'm learning anyway,
Right. Well, people tend to get so caught up in the initial phases of it. Like, I got to buy all these outfits and all these supplements and, how many crazy shark floor mat outfits do I need? And just one step at a time.
Right. I think I'd start with doing push-ups in the morning. Like, that's right where...
Push-ups are good.
Or a jog or something,
And that's what I tell a lot of people. Like, they want me to train them, and I'll be like, okay, look, I've seen a lot of people that waste my time for like a month, and we don't go anywhere. Yeah. What I want to see is you on your own come in for 3 months. 3 months I want to see you. Then we'll talk about it. You show me the consistency, and we'll go from there, because I'm just going to make it harder.
Right. It's just going to get more intense from here.
Right. I think a lot of people, if they volunteered, like when I did my first river cleanup, I thought I was in shape. But when we pulled over 100 tires and I think it was over a ton of debris in 4 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And there were a lot of kids and average folk there. There was one other vet there, and we were kind of over the top, as we often get competitive. He was of the 101st, which is the sister unit, and we give each other a hard time of the 82nd. And we really kicked butt out there, but we kind of felt like we were under obligation to overdo it. So the next morning, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I am smoked. I am sore. I'm just going to do a light, easy workout today, just so I don't fall out of habit." And then I realized, this is something I really enjoyed. And then I upped my training for it. So when you fall in love with something and you realize you need to become better to do it, but you tie in other things that make you feel good to it, like volunteering, it really helped my training. And then that was when the St. Jude thing also kicked off later that year. So I participate in what's called the St. Jude Warriors. And it started out by doing the mud runner, or what is it called? My first year to do it, they canceled it, and the Spartan took over. This is where I need to go with it. Because I was training for we're going to do some obstacle courses, and, it's light, fun stuff. And then they're like, "Oh, you're doing a Spartan race." And I was like, oh no. So
what is the Spartan race?
Yeah,
the Spartan race is, it's its own thing. A Google search will lead you to all the fun and pain. One of the it's a bunch of series of like tasks and trials.
Yeah, I was gonna say obstacles. Even
there are obstacles, but like one of them is you have to take a 5-gallon bucket full of rocks and get it. I think it's 2 miles. However you can. So a lot of people carry it, with their hands in front or on one shoulder and then alternate. Then they single hand farmers walk it. That one was the worst. But then there's rope climbs and stuff like that. So I didn't expect that, but that was pretty cool. But the objective that's the accountability end of things. There are teams of athletes that compete against each other in this program to raise as much money as they can for St. Jude. For note, I really wish, if anyone at Riley's is listening, I really wish you would do a program like this, because I would totally do that and get everybody else to do that too, because we're just looking for a reason to help people and train.
Yeah.
So what you do is you set up your own campaign and you work in kind of in the spirit of good competition, encourage each other and challenge each other to raise money. One guy did a bake sale. One lady did, raise money by organizing a town-wide garage sale. I chose to go a different route and this leads to a funny story. I hope you enjoyed this one. So I decided I'm going to do this, and I need to do something a bit over the top, and I want to challenge myself and see if I can do it. I practiced a little bit. I didn't get a lot of opportunity. So what I decided to do was, my first year was I was going to push the family sedan a mile, and I told some of my buddies at the gym, and I said I was going to go live with it in a week. I set it up, and it went live. And the day of, like Friday, I set it up. Saturday, it wasn't even 24 hours. I'm in the gym warming up on the treadmill. And in that week, and this is why I love gym families, I get a notification, and I set a goal of, if I hit $200, because I didn't think anybody was going to care, $200, I would push the car. So I'm sitting there on the treadmill going, and I get a notification, donation from a certain individual who was in the gym at that minute of $200. I turn around, and there's 6 people pointing at me and laughing, going, ha ha ha, you gotta push a car. So now I'm obligated to do it. But at the end of, because you set up your campaign from, for several, I think that year it was 3 months. St. Jude changes it a little bit every year. And I basically pushed that car a mile, and then had several months. I think I had another month and a half, if not 2, because it was so quick, that I raised, I think it was just under $1,000 that year. And last year I upped it even more. So I did the car push as I did the year before, and I did a hand over hand pull, like tug of war. And then I did one where I hooked myself up to a roofing harness and ran the length of a football field with a car. And I cleared, I think, 1,200. The team I'm with has raised, I want to say, $80,000 to date in 3 years.
That's amazing.
All the teams together in 3 years have raised over $500,000. And it's just good competitiveness to help some sick kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. Plus awesome to watch you fucking pull this car.
Well, my wife had to work. My daughter got to drive this past year, so that was fun.
Yeah. Did you do all the training there?
I did. I got videos on my personal page. So if anybody connects who I am, I'm a little shy. I don't want trouble coming to the house. So if you figure it out, let's just keep it to ourselves, okay?
Right. Safety first, man.
Yes.
So we'll get on to the next line topic. How did you cultivate discipline?
Like, we touched on it, but, like, how did you start? Was it the military, or?
I would say that's part of it, but it started in school sports. Coaches. It started there. That was the seed. Yes, the military then turbo speeded it, dumped fertilizer and water and tried to drown me. But I picked up a lot of self-discipline in the military. And then a lot of it comes to daily regimentation, I'm a big believer in make your bed first thing in the morning. You have routines. When people don't have a routine, they tend to just be random throughout the day, and then they're unhappy with how the day turned out. I want to say that goals are a good way. You really want a goal, you will discipline yourself to a degree until you are happy with it, and then you'll just kind of ramp everything up as you go from there. But a lot of it, I would definitely say, is, people with knife hands yelling at you, and then just because they make it a daily habit, and that's the other thing is I'm used to PT first thing in the morning. Always have. I still hear they have a stereo system on telephone poles all over Fort Bragg, and I still hear the music when PT kicks off in my head.
Yeah. Wake up like, oh shit.
Yeah, I've had a few wake up dreams like that.
Well, and then what was the most meaningful case that you've ever worked on?
Or like thing you've done?
There's a lot. But I would say the biggest one, did you guys hear about the home explosion and fire over by Yeoman Park?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, how recent was that?
I want to say it was 4 or 5 years ago. So that was in November, and we were talking about, I was getting ready to head to work, and we were arguing about Christmas plans and Christmas presents, and I was worried about being late, and then the whole home shook, like the whole neighborhood shook. There's a roundabout over by Yeoman Park, and there was a house on it that literally exploded, gas line, just boom. I ran down, I told the wife to call 911, and I ran down there as fast as I could. I was knocking on the neighbor's door because I wasn't figuring anybody could have survived that. The whole second story was blown completely off, just gone. The whole house was tilted. Knocking on the door, the people that lived there hadn't woke up from it. I'm shocked.
Wow. Yeah.
It's right next door. I wanted to make sure they got out of the area because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
And as I was waiting for them to come to the door, I could hear somebody yelling. I looked over, and there were small flames on the floor of the second story. And I decided I was going to go investigate because I could hear somebody. And I couldn't tell if it was somebody from a house caddy corner behind. You know how Huntington is.
Yeah.
So I ran over. There was a window there, and I could see someone that was pinned between a bunch of rubble on the first floor and what had come down from the second floor. The door, of course, since the whole structure was tilted, I couldn't get the door open. He had double pane, crazy thick windows. Kicking and punching them wasn't doing any good, so I found a pointed rock nearby and used that to bust it out. Then I had to step in and pull him out, and thank God for the police department because his foot was stuck. I had him over my head, and I was walking him out, trying to get him off that debris, and his foot had got stuck, and one of the officers pulled up. And if anyone in law enforcement hears this, he deserves a medal. I believe you said you owed him that. Moving on.
Yeah.
I pulled him out with the help of the officer, and we got him out of there. He had first and second degree burns from the waist down, but he survived. Last I heard, he had moved down to Kentucky with his sister. That was the first time, like one of those, and a lot of RLSH will go through this, and they will not have or they'll yearn for this is my time moment. That I still smell him cooking sometimes, but you can look at it as good, you can look at it as bad. I'm just glad he's alive. And when all was said and done, I asked the officers if they required anything of me, and they said no, and I said good because I got to go to work.
Yeah.
And I went straight to work. And they asked, why are you 5 minutes late? And I said, well, I'm going to have you talk to the police department because you're not going to believe me.
Yeah, right.
The worst I'm late excuse ever turned out to be true, and they gave me my points back.
Yes, they should.
But that's never been reported.
Only
That the house had exploded and caught fire. Never that I was involved because I specifically requested not to be.
And so, just to kind of clarify this story here, you said his foot got stuck, the man
His
you were
pants
rescuing? And
were caught on something further in because it was nothing but 2x4s. Imagine a construction site, a 2-story construction site, and all of its chaos collapsing into a ball with you in the middle of it. That's basically what it was.
Not sure I want to imagine that necessarily, but...
But yeah, his pants or shoe or something got caught. It was dark in the morning. When I got started, it was very few flames at the top. But when we pulled him out, I could feel full-on heat. And this was the middle of winter. I was sweating, not from the effort, from the fire upstairs that was now about 4 to 5 foot high. All across the top.
And so the officer, he came in and helped you get his leg unstuck then?
Yes.
Right?
I basically held him while he reached in and kind of moved his leg around. I was too busy just, kind of looking down, just trying to hold him up and keep it up. And again, that's another reason why I train. And again, as a response, I upped my training because I feel like I could have done better. So when you have moments like that, go back to the why, I train the way I do. It's because every time I encounter something, I'm always feeling I need to up things as a response. In the military, you do kind of an after actions review. And one of the big things you always ask is how could we or I have done better? And I still do those.
I think it's a good thing, right?
Right.
It's good to always grow and learn continually.
So I apply that to fundraising. I apply it to just about everything. But that's probably my coolest one.
Yeah, sure.
Funniest being the Dorito bag on the dog head.
Yeah. So do you find balancing all this hard because you're your own boss, you own your own construction business, or?
And I'm a full-time single dad.
Yeah, right.
And
3 kids, right?
The union sending me to school. Yes, it can be. But what I try to do is be, like I said with the 82nd, they're on call. So I've kind of made that my kind of thing is if I see an opportunity, if I can't volunteer, I don't. If I can make time on the weekend for an event, I will. If I can't get a sitter,
Right.
Sometimes I'll involve the kids to a degree. Like I want to look at a section of river, so I'll take them on a hike. Yeah. And they'll be nearby. My youngest is too small to be in the river, but they'll be nearby while I'm scouting. And then when I set it up, I'll report it. I'll work with the city. I got them to agree to let me to do some cleanups without them present. Oh. I just have to coordinate a pickup site. And I might be changing that by getting my own dump trailer and seeing if they'll let me just take care of it.
Yeah, that is interesting. So what, you couldn't just go out there and pick it up if you wanted to? You
Correct. And I wouldn't tell people to go do that on their own. The reason I'm allowed is because they are very aware of not only my capability, but a lot of my training from first aid to lifeguardness. I'm an expert swimmer. I've had several water rescues, in fact, not during the cleanups, but you can encounter some pretty nasty scrapes, dings, breaks if you're not careful.
Okay.
But if anyone does want to do a river cleanup locally, they tend to do 2 or 3 a year, and I highly encourage it. It's actually quite a fun experience.
Where do they post information about that? Where do you find out?
You could go to the Huntington City Volunteer Facebook group, and they often put out projects and stuff. If you want to garden, if somebody's building a park, you can go volunteer to do that. They've got all kinds of stuff all over town. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, someone had a problem with the salary of the volunteer coordinator, and it's below average if you ask me. I know I couldn't live on that. That's all I'll say. But I will say that it has saved the county, I believe, over $1 million since it sprang up, 3 years ago, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's just smart. Well, and once you invest in a project and volunteer, you become invested in the community. I think we've stepped away a lot from that. I see a lot of people that just kind of hang around. I mean, I know there's a pandemic going around. I'm talking about
even
after
before, or
in the normal times.
Right.
But if people got more involved in their neighborhood and said something if they saw a problem, or invested a little bit of themselves into the community they live in, they take more pride in it. They might pick up some of the trash,
I agree with you.
Bit of pride, sense of pride in your community, your area. Yeah.
Or if you see a problem, see if you can find a way to fix it. That's a big way I've always looked at things is, what's somebody not doing? That's supposed to be the point of a nonprofit. They always seem to be kind of stepping on each other's toes, but the point is to fill a need that's not being filled by a business or another nonprofit. They shouldn't be about money.
Right. It's kind of in the name there, isn't it?
No comment.
A little bit.
I wish churches would work together here locally.
Yeah.
A lot of them won't.
Yeah, that's kind of
they're worried about
strange, I guess.
They're worried about flock poaching. And I work with a lot of them.
Okay.
I'm kind of like an independent do-gooder. And I'll help wherever it's needed. But I hear what they say, and it's not very Christianly sometimes, in my opinion. And I just wish they'd work together. They'd make a bigger difference that way.
Right, yeah.
I think that's what the big guy did anyways, right? Jesus, he was out there in the streets.
Yeah.
Trying to do well.
Feeding the people.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Not caring what station they were or what their problems were.
Or worried about one building, your one church, you know?
Yeah. He wanted to destroy them all.
Or, avoid them, right? Anyway. Yeah, that was a hard tangent, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So what else you guys got for me?
Anything you want to say to our listeners?
Yeah.
Well, with Hope, it's a big event. Last year we had feel free to go to my Citizen Tiger Facebook page to look at the photo album of Hope 2019. I'll give you an idea of how many of us come from all over the country to make a difference in Chicago. I believe Portland had a Hope as well. But one of the big things we do is gather up materials from donations, companies like Bombas, and there's several others that we also work with. But we just launched a fundraiser for this year. It's September 11th. This year we're going to be doing our Hope. And if you'd like to contribute, you can check it out there. I have it pinned at the top of the page. If you know of any organizations here locally I could reach out to that would like to get materials or supplies to, whether it be shelf-stable foods, sleeping bags, or blankets, or anything we get our hands on that's not going to have, bed bugs or anything.
Yeah.
I will be making rounds to some of the care facilities, just a heads up, because hotels and elder care facilities often donate used blankets, and that's about half of our U-Haul truck, which is always fun because we basically have to gather up so much that we have to park it in a parking garage, gather whatever we can carry, because there's so many stairs going up the 3 levels of the Underdark underneath Chicago. We have to carry it physically. That's another reason I upped my training. I mean, it's just a history, but if you're interested, we would love any help or even just shares to get the word out, because we didn't do it last year and we want to do it bigger, better, badder than we did before. Even Bombas upped the amount of stuff they're donating to us. It used to be just socks. I don't want to phrase it as just, that basically minimizes it.
Right.
But they gave us 5,000 pairs of socks. This year it's going to be 7 plus beanies and shirts and I think underwear too. So that's going to make a big impact in what we do. But we're always looking to do more. And whatever we don't use for Hope, we're debating doing an Indianapolis Hope. That's a hope of mine. It's a great city, but I know they have a big homeless issue down there. And we are at the point where we're gathering so many supplies that we also want to work with other RLSH teams and organizations where we might send basically 25 to 50 care packs from what we've assembled ready to go for them to do it. So that's one of our big objectives this year. I doubt we'll hit the 5,000, but that's basically what we're looking to do.
That's awesome, man. Helping out. It's a community, man.
Right. Well, and as we go, a lot of it will come to wherever we have a member located. So here in Huntington, North Manchester, Lansing, Warsaw. He just moved. I can't remember where Patrioteer's at. And then, of course, Chicago, because our member Phoenix, very iron fisty. He's right out of Chicago.
All right. I guess we can get to the fun, nerdy crap if you want to, man.
Hit me.
So what, you said you started with like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is one of the questions we like to ask every time. What is your half-assed nerd history? If you give, one thing that you're into but not obsessed about as far as nerd culture goes.
A little bit of everything. I mean, I'm raising 3 little weebs. They're big on My Hero Academia because of me.
Nice.
I've really fallen in love with that show.
plus Ultraman.
Exactly.
Just-
I'm more of a Lemillion guy, trying to stay positive, but yeah, I can't help but get inspired by it. But yeah, I started with Star Wars with my dad. I've seen every aspect of Star Wars. To be honest, I think it was a bad move to marry a woman that never saw Star Wars. And that hand to God truth.
Yeah. She just didn't get it. It was an issue.
She didn't get me a lot of the stuff. But you remember Image Comics?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Chromium, everything. I was big into comics back then. I was big into art and watching Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Eric Larson and Mark Silvestri and all those great guys doing what they did. And, that was a great time to be a comic book creator. Not so much if you're in it for the value, though.
Yeah.
But, that was where I first started getting good. My brother got started and started going to Detroit Comic Con, before it just became Gen Con, which is everything. Right. So if I were to categorize myself, I'm more of a Gen Con than a specific kind of con. A little bit of everything. As I said,
you fit good here with half-assed nerds.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I got here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to anything specifically that I love, I have too many to name. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sure when you were a kid too, I think we're about the same age.
Yeah.
Marvel movies really stunk.
Yeah, they really did.
Punisher's butt is what I seem to remember that start by.
Yeah.
But they really made up for it with the newest Punisher. I mean, it's just, there's so much just great writing and everything in the Marvel Universe. DC is working on it.
Yeah, again.
I mean, I still watch it because comics.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't have a specific thing I'm overpowered by one way or the other. I'm just excited that it's here because...
Yeah, it's a good time to be a nerd, we like to say on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
Great time, yeah.
What about you guys?
I'm really into about, like you said, about all of it. That's why I made this podcast with my friend Josh here, because we're not obsessive about one thing. We're into it all. So
right, try to touch everything. Like you said, art and music,
physical fitness.
Physical fitness.
Well, even my kids got me into new stuff. You remember Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
Well, that came out. Of course, they just overdosed on everything Pokemon. And I was dragged along kicking and screaming with them. Quite literally. That was the point of Pokemon Go. But some people are still playing it. And I remember I would be out on street patrols. They'd be playing Pokemon Go, and I was more worried about people tripping over curbs and walking into stuff.
Just looking at their
phone.
Trying
to do the whole circle thing and catch whatever, and boom, into a fence post or something.
Yeah.
General Slack Park, I had somebody that tripped over a bench when they were trying to stand up and fell flat on their face. But luckily, they just got up, walked it off.
Yeah, oh, that's good at least,
I think they were just playing, but there were some teens that tried to snag a phone out of somebody's hand, and they didn't like it when 205-pound grown man comes charging out of the bushes at him. I wasn't in the bushes, but it just looked that way because I jumped over the bushes to get to him.
I was going to say, Citizen Tiger, it's okay, it just suits it.
Now, a lot of people, before they ask, they're not going to see me running around or walking around all Sasquatch-like. They're not going to catch the Loch Ness Monster, often in plain clothes.
There is one nerd thing that I'd like to talk about. Have you seen The Boys?
Oh my goodness, have I? And I love
I was
it.
wondering if you'd really like that, if you like that one.
It's inappropriate and glorious.
Yeah.
It's like veteran humor coming to life.
And it's got like an underground dude, helpers in that show. But it's against superheroes, but I just wonder how you thought about that.
It was a great comic series, and it's amazing to see it to come to life. If anybody's going to watch this, make sure their kids are tucked away in bed and the door is closed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not for kids.
But it has a certain aspect that was never really touched on in a lot of comics that I really kind of dig. When Grant Morrison did the Dark Knight Returns in comic format, it was kind of a reinvention of the wheel, which was a great thing to be part of. That's the same thing with this. And then seeing it happen in comic form and then jump to not a mainstream, in my opinion, that these companies are taking a great risk and it's reciprocated and successful is just astounding at the same time. Mm-hmm. I hope someday that they continue this and it continues to be mainstream. Look what they're doing with the Mandalorian and everything that spawned from that.
Yeah.
We have talked lengthy about the Mandalorian.
Yeah, we've basically done a whole streaming episodes like this whole first season of the podcast.
This is the way.
It's like, this is the way.
The Mandalorian's my jam. I mean, it really hit me, and I didn't think it would.
It reinvigorated my love of Star Wars too.
Right.
You know, the whole mythic.
I've always had an ember, you know, whether it be the Clone Wars, because so much came out of that I didn't expect. Like, you know, when they brought Maul back, I was like, wait a minute, they're doing this on a cartoon?
Yeah. They did.
And they did. And I suddenly fell in love with it because of all the lore and everything involved. And, you know, we could probably have an entire show about Star Wars. Tangents.
Yeah, no kidding.
How racist was the Empire? You know, that's a big one we could do. But, you know, The Mandalorian, if you want to figure out why I do this, watch that.
Yeah.
I actually have a gentleman who wants me to do a project for him, and he has a 3D printer. And since I don't have to worry about someone else's opinion in my life, I am totally going to knock some off the price, and he's going to 3D print me a Mandalorian helmet.
Awesome.
And I'm going to also ask him to develop my own signet.
Yeah, all right. What, a tiger man? Or
I don't know. I'm going to leave it to him, or just a head, just a tiger head.
Yeah, tiger head. Yeah, right.
You know, Mudcrest variant. But there's so much culture, and we might as well call it that. And it's just great to see it get the respect it have after we touched on seeing, and I know so many of the listeners probably questioned why they did or took shame in it, but this is a great time.
Yeah. Well,
I was gonna say, man, you guys grown up in the 80s, it's different. Yeah, you know, hitting 70s.
It's different.
Yeah, that's right. He was born in the 90s. I was kidding. He's quite young. No. I just meant, you guys.
I'm 44. Can smoke people half my age. I'm proud of it.
Like I'm not. Okay. I'm not even gonna challenge you, man. I'm not.
So I grew up in the 80s, so
or at least
we had Saturday morning cartoons then.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Saturday morning cartoons are still with us, just in a very different way. Yeah,
they were everything back in the day.
Meaningful, yeah.
Now I don't even know what cereal to buy.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for meeting with us and talking to us today.
Thank you very much, man.
Anytime.
And we got to sign this episode out. This is Jonathan.
And Josh, signing out.
Hey, your outro here. We'll try and make this one a little quicker than normal, I think. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere online. Drop a comment. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell them all. And since you're in the online neighborhood, how about you check out Citizen Tiger? As you just heard, he's a pretty awesome guy with a pretty awesome story, doing a lot of pretty awesome stuff out there in the world. I hope you go check him out and help support him and the Hope Organization group. Alright, talk to you guys next time.